Hi, everyone. Okay, let's get started, and thanks for your patience. My name is Mike Teeling. I'm the Director of Content Marketing here at BigPanda, and welcome to The Modern Knock, 9 Megatrends for IT Operations Management. Before we jump in, I wanted to cover some housekeeping items for you all. We will be taking questions at the end of this session, so please use the control panel to submit yours. Also, if you want to download a copy of today's slides, you can do so from the control panel as we've uploaded them there. After the webinar, we'll be sure to send everybody a recording of this webcast, and you will all receive a copy of our original 2018 predictions ebook that we published at the beginning of the year. That's where much of today's content originated. Okay, thanks for your attention. So please allow me to introduce our speaker for today. Assaf Resnick is the CEO and co-founder of BigPanda, which specializes in automating and scaling IT incident management for IT operations teams at some of the largest global enterprises. Prior to founding BigPanda in 2012, Assaf was an investor with the venture capital firm Sequoia Capital, where he partnered with some of today's leading software and internet companies. So without further ado, take it away, Assaf.
Thanks, Mike. Let's dive in. I want to set the stage a little bit for the mega trends that we're going to cover today. And kind of the backdrop to it is what's been happening overall in the industry over the last 10 years. And no big shock, the kind of name of the game for enterprise IT has been around how do we keep up with and enable digital transformation. You've already seen some very big changes, some very big transformations, and how enterprises do software and how they do infrastructure. You're seeing monolithic applications that are deployed once a quarter turn into microservices, continuous delivery, DevOps, and so forth. You're seeing kind of physical infrastructure that lives in your basement turn into a multi-cloud strategy, making use of virtualization and containers and infrastructure as code. That's brought a lot of positive changes to the enterprise in terms of agility and speed and scale and cost efficiency. But from an operations perspective, that's obviously created a very big set of challenges as operations teams have to contend with more and more tools and more scale and more speed. That's created a whole new set of challenges around how do we scale our people to deal with a volume of machine data, which is really exploding by orders of magnitude. And that sets the stage for a lot of the megatrends that we're looking at. So over the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to cover 9 megatrends for IT operations. We've really tried to set some really interesting predictions around where service operations is headed, particularly for large enterprises. We've tried to base this on industry research and contact with a lot of folks in the field. We've really grounded this. We've tried to ground this in the reality in terms of challenges and opportunities that are facing IT practitioners in the real world. Of course, we've put our own little futuristic spin on things, particularly since we spend a lot of time thinking around how to use machine learning and AI in order to introduce autonomy and scale to IT. And we've also tried to kind of sprinkle into each one of these trends that we're going to talk about a little bit of guidance and implications that you can take back and use in your daily life. So with no further ado, let's dig in. The first megatrend relates to the continued decline of traditional on-premise installed systems. The chart at the bottom from Gartner shows 3 types of enterprise computing workloads. You see there on-prem with the red line, off-prem with the orange line, and cloud workloads in green. And as you can see, cloud adoption continues to rise, particularly in DevOps organizations, where 80% tell Gartner that all new services will live in the cloud within 3 years. Why? Well, it's because on-prem hardware and software simply cost too much to maintain compared to the cloud. In the IT operations management space, particularly when it comes to managing incidents, the legacy players in the event correlation and analysis, companies like HP, BMC, IBM, and other dinosaurs, they haven't made that switch to the cloud. And that really leads us at BigPanda to predict that legacy event management solutions have entered, and the prediction is will continue to enter into a death spiral. Why is that? Well, in a nutshell, it's because the legacy event management players have not invested in innovation. And that means that their customers have the worst of both worlds. They're stuck paying essentially a maintenance tax to maintain these systems without any of the innovation. These are customers, these are enterprises that are digitally transforming. They're moving to DevOps, they're moving to a hybrid cloud, they're moving to microservices, continuous delivery, and the legacy systems, while still maintaining expensive maintenance taxes, simply do not deliver the capabilities to deal with these new digital realities. And what does that mean for your ops team? Well, it means that forward-thinking businesses that are digitally transforming, are continuing to sunset their legacy event management solutions in favor of newer cloud-based alternatives that do embrace the digital reality of modern IT. The second IT megatrend relates to the explosion of interest in IT automation technologies, particularly those driven by machine learning and artificial intelligence, to some of the thorniest problems facing IT. In fact, the majority of the CIOs are planning to invest in machine learning over the next 2 years, namely because they recognize the potential to directly impact the success of their digital transformation initiatives, particularly around IT operations, or what we call digital operations. There's a lot of interest in driving machine learning generated efficiencies. And given this research, we conclude our second IT megatrend is an increased investment in IT automation towards benefiting digital operations. And why is that? It's because we've obviously reached a tipping point where a lot of the top performing enterprises understand that every part of their IT operations strategy must automate in order to fulfill the promise of digital operations or digital transformation. And that's already started happening. If you look at many different parts of how IT functions, you've seen automation, and in many cases machine learning driven automation. And I'm talking about how people develop and deploy software, how they do their monitoring, how they develop and deploy their infrastructure. But that's yet to really take hold in service operations or digital operations, and we think that's a big domino yet to fall. And obviously what that means for your ops teams, consider investing in machine learning driven event management capabilities in order to automate and scale digital operations. Machine learning definitely received a lot of hype in IT ops in 2017, and that's only continued in 2018. Gartner even coined a new term for the explosion of vendors offering solutions that leverage machine learning. They call it AI ops. But we noticed last year that a lot of the AI ops solutions were really centered around point monitoring vendors trying to introduce machine learning into their very specific and siloed diagnostic tool. And that's very good to shed light on a very specific portion of your stack that a monitoring tool is looking at. But that does really nothing to reduce the total amounts of IT events or increase the overall visibility that ops folks are still struggling to get. And so megatrend number 3 is that more intelligent monitoring by itself will not solve the alert noise problem. Why? Well, it's because individual monitoring tools by themselves don't offer a holistic view of what's going on with the health of your business services. Monitoring vendors really focus on shining the flashlight at specific parts of the stack, and that's great. But what's also needed is an approach, particularly driven by machine learning, to stitch together all that siloed visibility into one holistic view of what's happening with the business services and applications that you really care about. And what does that mean for your ops teams? Well, it means you should consider evaluating new machine learning technologies with the primary goal of stitching together all that siloed, high volume, high complexity data into holistic, simple, real-time visibility that the human beings in your operations team can easily understand. With digital transformation revolutionizing the enterprise, IT operations is tasked with satisfying ever-shifting customer experience demands. Our customers now expect a higher level of responsiveness and performance from web apps, portals, e-commerce sites, and so on. Keeping those services up and running is not just a challenge, but the downside of outages and downtime can cost a fortune. Ops needs to detect, diagnose, resolve application-level problems quickly. Fortunately, today's complex distributed infrastructure leaves too many blind spots if monitoring relies on traditional approaches. So our next trend is that more enterprises will be adopting application-centric monitoring. Why? Because top-down monitoring really stresses the measurement of service performance, really stresses things like user experience, transactional availability, SLA compliance, the things that really affect your business and your customer experience. And what does that mean for you and your team? Well, it means that you need to eliminate infrastructure monitoring silos by mapping application and service dependencies critical to delivering high availability and performance to your end user. The IT skills gap is now the new normal. I'm pretty confident all of you on the line have directly experienced this challenge. In few disciplines is the scarcity of good talent more acute than in IT operations, especially as digital transformation means that there is much more complexity, much more scale, much more fragmentation in the typical IT stack. The scarcity of people that can run those kind of full stack environments is all the more acute. And here at BigPanda, we feel your pain about that. The solution, it's to automate everything and anything that can't be automated, especially to do so with intelligent automation. And so our mega trend number 5 is continued IT staffing shortages driving continued service automation. Why? Because humans don't scale. There's too many apps, too many services, too many tools. In short, too many moving parts moving way too quickly for human beings to keep up. And even if they could keep up, those kinds of ongoing mundane tasks are fairly low level. And what can be automated really frees up your scarce headcount to work on more strategic initiatives. And to do that, automation needs to become smarter as well as your IT stack continues to fragment and accelerate. The ability of automation to keep up is critical, and for that, automation really needs to transform towards a more intelligent, autonomous model. And what does that mean for your IT ops teams? Plan for the continued shortage of skilled workers by automating whatever can be automated, especially in managing IT events. Increasingly, IT is being called upon not just to support digital transformation initiatives, but to drive them. IT is tasked with creating technology-based innovations that will deliver competitive advantage in that marketplace. IT is expected to track and report on key performance metrics to the business, yet so many IT operations teams are still running blind. IT operational analytics tools are certainly plentiful and are becoming more attractive every day. Most automation solutions these days include some level of BI. CIOs and other leaders who fail to continuously prove their value to the business risk their jobs if they don't heed this next mega trend, which is enterprises will demand better IT operational visibility. Why? Because CIOs' jobs are on the line to support digital transformation and enable the business to be more competitive and serve their customers better. To do that, IT is expected to share BI data with the business so they can continually improve. And as IT is making significant investments in digital transformation, they have to be able to prove the worth of those investments by backing them up with solid analytics that the rest of the C-suite in the business can get behind. And what does that mean for your ops teams? It means start experimenting with emerging IT analytics tools. Decide which metrics IT will share with executive leadership to support IT transformation. Our next mega trend pertains to the tool and cloud fragmentation that's happening in the IT industry. Enterprises are moving away from buying all their stuff from large monolithic legacy vendors like HP and IBM and CA. And they're moving towards a best-of-breed approach made up of kind of a fruit salad of different vendors and open source tools and clouds and API services and so on and so forth. And that's been great because it's let people really focus on getting the right tool for the right job. But now you've got all these different components that make up your stack, none of which speak the same language. And to unify and streamline all that, we think it's really time for a new kind of data hub. And so our mega trend number 7 is IT event hubs will emerge in open integration platforms. Why? Because IT event hubs add context necessary to operate your infrastructure, your environment, and speed incident resolution. They really help take in all of this fragmented information from all your underlying tools and clouds and processes and take that Tower of Babel and help them merge and interrelate to one another so you can be able to get intelligence much more easily in a much more automated way to operate and your stack and especially do incident management when things come up. And what does that mean for your ops teams? It means not all vendors claim of open integrations are created equal. Evaluate them for their ability to add contextual data and to be able to really support a broad array of all the tools that you're using in the real world to be able to speed incident resolution. Back on megatrend number 3, I mentioned all the market hype around machine learning. While AI ops still has a ways to go to prove its value, other kinds of intelligent automation and other verticals are progressing more quickly. Think of the maturity cycle that autonomous vehicles have gone through. From climate control and cruise control 20 years ago to autonomous braking and parking that are in most cars today to a Tesla's ability to drive itself down the highway. IT automation solutions are evolving beyond routine tasks like incident detection, moving towards contextual analysis that aid human beings' decision-making to one day powering autonomous remediation. But in order for machine learning to be most effectively applied to your IT operations environment, heed megatrend number 8. IT buyers will start to distinguish between various flavors of machine learning. Why? Because within all the hype of machine learning and the unfortunately many number of not so successful implementations of machine learning in IT environments, some of the recent successful applications of IT machine learning are really starting to cut through the hype. You also need to make a decision for yourself as an organization what flavor of machine learning you're looking for. Typically today we see kind of what we call black box or closed models where it's, hey, you need a handful of data scientists and really leave it to the experts in order to set the thing up. Versus a more open box approach, which is much more transparent and flexible, not necessarily to the data scientists, but to the actual IT operators that have to operate your environment. And the form that's really right for you really depends on your operating principles and kind of your unique environments to help determine the correct choice. And what does that mean for your ops teams? Well, it means keep any evaluation of machine learning technology focused on your business outcomes and focused on its ability to deliver those business outcomes in a way that's fully auditable and transparent in a fairly simple way to you. Okay, our last IT megatrend was contributed by BigPanda's CTO, Alec. He peered into the future and declared that it is serverless. The upside-down triangle points out that it's much cheaper to buy specific workloads than to provision entire VMs. Just as going virtual was and is cheaper than buying and maintaining dedicated hardware, so too is going serverless cheaper than going virtual. Which brings us to megatrend number 9, serverless enters the mainstream discussion. Why? Because going serverless is cheaper in certain circumstances and reduces many of the risks associated with scaling your digital operations. Dynamic workloads are much more flexible and easier within serverless environments than even within VM environments, and they evolve quicker to ever-changing software architectures. And what does that mean for your ops teams? It means your entire enterprise organization should begin experimenting with serverless in R&D, if not yet in production. And that's our last megatrend, and with that, I'll hand it back to Mike to tell us a little bit about BigPanda.
Thanks, Assaf. Hi, this is Mike again. Let me tell you all a little bit about BigPanda. As I covered at the top, BigPanda enables enterprise IT to intelligently automate and scale their digital operations. Most need better automation to meet complex demands that are created by digital transformation initiatives within their business. Our SaaS platform uses machine learning to turn the flood of event data from fragmented monitoring tools and applications and infrastructure into actionable insights. This helps NOC teams to speed things like investigation, escalation, and ultimately faster resolution of IT incidents. So we invite you all to visit bigpanda.io for more information. There you can subscribe to our blog and newsletter, and you can follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, or Facebook.